Death is the only real defeat. This is the podcast Wisdom for the Rest of Us. This is my weekly or semi off and on rant about what I've been thinking about, reading about wisdom, and this is about this poem which will be published. I'm going to publish the video for it on Sunday. It's Friday night now, and from Shakespeare and Fletcher, John Fletcher. John Fletcher probably wrote it. It's in Shakespeare's play Henry VIII, and about Henry VIII and his big advisor, his Lord Cardinal Wolsey, and it was a collaboration between Shakespeare and John Fletcher, his a rival, a fellow writer, and this monologue, or this little soliloquy, is considered to be Fletcher's work, and it's called Wolsey's Farewell to His Greatness. And you can, if you want to check out the poem itself and my actual essay, I wrote an actual essay about the poem. You can check it out on video and Vimeo Sunday. But I got to this made me think. The whole. First of all, reading up about Wolsey, who he was, made me think, and also this idea of falling from greatness, because you don't really consider that that's going to happen. If you're a guy like me, and I'm an American guy with ambition. So my entire life I've been taught to strive for success. That's the American way, and I accept that. I like it. I'm fine with it. But of course you fall also. And no one tells you that defeat is inevitable. Falling, unsuccess, failure is inevitable. It's going to happen, and you can't stop that. And of course, Wolsey is this iconic figure from history about success and failure. He was the Lord Chancellor under Henry VIII. Henry VIII, of course, as you know, is the guy who the king who killed all his wives, right, one after the other. There was he would get them to bed and then kill them, take their heads off, because they didn't give him a son. So he and so he killed them one after the other, and he had to try to get an annulment of his marriage with every woman, with every new wife. And of course the Catholic Church didn't give divorces, so he tried to get an annulment, and he would send Wolsey to Rome to get the annulment, and then he would come back defeated, and he said, I can't get the annulment. And then and Henry VIII said, you're my most trusted advisor, you're basically the one running the kingdom right now, and but you're fired because you can't give me a divorce. And so he fired Wolsey, and that was his fall from greatness. And you got to imagine also, this was we all know the story of Henry VIII, because it's so fascinating that this psychopath was in so much power, and we always talk about his wives and trying to get a male heir, and killing his wives one after the other. And somehow, I don't know how he gets away with it. Historically, he gets away with it. He's still considered like a great king or something. Maybe he's not considered a great king, but he's not considered an evil king like Richard III, who was, another Shakespearean play, right? He's considered the epitome of evil. But here, this guy, Henry VIII, he killed one woman after the other, and still he gets kind of a free pass by history. No one calls him out and says, that's a rape culture, anyone? Toxic masculinity? Henry VIII, folks, he's killing these women. So anyway, but it's funny that how our attitudes to him are, well, the way they are. And the other funny thing about our attitudes toward Henry VIII is that we are fascinated by him because of this thing with his wives, but no one really acknowledges, or no one really realizes, says, hey, well, wait a minute, he as a politician, he didn't do anything. He's known for being a king for killing his wives, but he didn't really do much as a politician. The actual day-to-day politics was done by Wolsey. Wolsey did the reforms and did the laws, and managed all the various political whatever it was of his saying. And if you look at his Wikipedia article, for example, you'll see that he did a lot during his lifetime, and he was much hated by the other aristocracy because he had so much power. They're all jealous of him, and Shakespeare gave him a bad, but Shakespeare painted him to be in the play Henry VIII. Shakespeare painted him to be a horrible person. So he gets kind of a rotten deal from history, in a way, because he's overshadowed by this guy whose main contribution to history was to kill women. That was the main thing. Okay. He also had something to do with the Reformation. He reformed England, but mainly so that he could, so that he could keep killing women, basically. Like, that was why he reformed the church, because the popes wouldn't give him divorces one after the other, and so he had to kill his women. So he created his own church, the Church of England, so he could have a say in the church, and appoint the leaders of the church in England, and they would give him a divorce whenever he wanted one. So, which of course actually stopped him killing, I would think. Probably stopped him killing the women, so that was good in general. But he wasn't this great thinker or mover or shaker. He was an asshole, basically. And Wolsey did the work. And when Wolsey couldn't get that final divorce, he was fired, and he retired to one of his, I think, Cathedral of London or something, somewhere. And he was called into the palace. I guess Buckingham Palace would have been, probably, a few months later or weeks later or sometime later. And he was going to be accused of he was going to be accused of high treason. And that's what Henry did to people who fell out of favor, even though he had devoted his entire life. Wolsey had devoted his entire life to making Henry look good as a king, and he was going to, accuse him of high treason, and probably that would have led to his death. So on his way to be accused and being in the court of Henry VIII to be accused of high treason, he died of natural causes on the way. And some people speculate that there were no natural causes. He committed suicide, and they covered it up because so out of respect for him, or whatever. And there are many fictional depictions of his life and his relationship with Henry VIII, and in some of them, his death is depicted as a suicide, so he wouldn't have to be, suffer the final humiliation by Henry of high treason after all he did. But so he is the iconic historical figure of the fall from grace, the fall from greatness, and that's what this little poem, this little soliloquy, is about. And the thing is, you don't have to be this great guy, uh, a man of power, to fall. Hold on, I have to turn off my little speakers. You fall. Even the little guys fall. You're married and you're happy for 1 year, and your wife wants a divorce. That's a failure. That's a fall. You don't get you hit the glass ceiling at work. That's a failure. It's a defeat. You don't get to do the things you dreamed of doing. That's a defeat. It happens to all of us constantly. We're always being defeated. As a kid, I imagined the trajectory of my life to go from, to be kind of upward, straight upward, like at I don't know, what would that be, a 45-degree angle, continually up, one success after the other. And I would build on my successes. I would build on what I learned and what I managed until I was at the top, very early in life. In my mid-20s, I would be, at the top of everything, the top of my writing career in the mid-20s. And and then from then on, life would be easy. I wouldn't have to worry about anything because I'd be rich and famous. So I'd be safe from any, vicissitudes. I would be financially secure, and everything would be great, and everyone would love me. And but of course, that's not how it happened at all. Life doesn't happen like that. Life is the defeat is inevitable. Even if you don't achieve success or look for success, even if you don't try to achieve something in life, you will be defeated. It's the downs are as inevitable as the ups, probably more inevitable as the ups, and it's just a part of life, and you cannot get around it. No one can. And so you have to prepare for it, and you have to learn to live with it. But no one really tells you to do that. I mean, I guess they do if you listen, but maybe I just wasn't listening. But, you know, that is such an integral part of life, the negative side is just something it's at once frightening and also beautiful in a way. I think I've said this before, I often imagine God, if there is a God, I imagine God not as a judge, an old man sitting on the throne judging us, good and evil, heaven, hell, but but as a couch potato, frankly, sitting in the clouds on his couch, watching us, and we're like his TV set, and there are how many you know th- 7 billion of us or something, and those are where each of us is a channel. We're his channels, and he has his favorite channels and his boring channels and his exciting channels, and he zaps through. He has a little remote, a big remote probably, and he zaps through the channels, watching us, and he doesn't want to see us happy. He doesn't want to see us successful. He doesn't want to see us, living in peace and harmony. He wants a little action. He wants some conflict. He wants to see us, faced with dilemmas and trying to get out of these dilemmas. And what we do when there's a war, what we do when there is a virus, what we do when we fall out of love, what we do when we realize, we look in the mirror and we realize we're not the man or woman we wanted to be. That's what he wants to see. That's the entertaining part of us. We wouldn't be entertaining if we just got everything we wanted and never suffered defeats and just succeeded, one achievement after the other. We would not be entertaining. We would be boring, and he would you know zap away from us, and our ratings would plummet so down so deep that until our lives became interesting. That's that's why we fall. We fall because our lives become more interesting. We don't want to. We don't like it like that. It hurts, but it makes our lives more interesting. There's another thing I've probably said often. I was sitting in Cannes when I did reporting for Variety and the Hollywood Reporter about movies and television industry and in Europe and or in Germany mainly, of course. But and we would go to me and the other guys at the Hollywood Reporter would go every year to the Cannes Film Festival, and we would talk to various various people. And we sat down with the producer of Pretty Woman, and he had just produced, and we were having a lunch with him or something. He was a nice guy, Arnold Milchan, an Israeli weapons dealer who went to Hollywood and made a huge fortune producing brilliant movies. A really bizarre and wonderful character. And he had just produced some flop. I forget what it was, but it did not work. And when you have this successful guy, he made Pretty Women and other movies like that, and then he stumbles, he produces a flop. Of course, it's interesting because everyone wants to know, he's going, oh, how the great have fallen. And so we asked him, some one of us, the guy with the most courage, I guess, asked him, well, how does that feel like to having, to now produce a flop? Is it like do you feel like it's all over? Like you're facing the end of it now? Are people not returning your calls? And is it how does it feel to be unsuccessful, to experience defeat? It's not something you do often. And he said, you know, you can't lose until you leave the casino. And that stuck in my mind. That I just will never forget. It's absolutely true. You only lose. You don't lose when you lose the money. You lose the roll of the dice, or you have one failure. You lose when you stop playing. Because the game of life, the game of achievement, of trying to do something with your life, trying to strive for happiness and fulfillment is a game full of ups and downs, and you're going to lose a lot of those rolls of the dice, and you would be lucky to win a few. But if you leave the casino, that's when you that's when you lose them all. That's when you really lose. And of course, you know, I've been through some defeats. I was through some defeats recently that really just they were bigger than I imagined they'd be. They crept up on me and they really just got me, and it was like a baseball to the back of the head. It was like, my teeth shattered. It crept up on me. At first I didn't think it was happening, and then there were some problems with the publishing company, and then there were some problems with the newspaper that I was writing for, and things kind of came together. I didn't take it seriously, and then when I realized that people had been working together behind my back, and that people had been talking about me, and I hadn't noticed, and I hadn't paid attention, and things have been going wrong, and I hadn't been able to right them. And now I was closed out. It came as a shock, and as it just I was just in a really dark place. And then I realized, well, I'm still alive. Uh, I've been in a dark place before. I've taken up the challenge before of trying to succeed, trying to get something out of life and trying to reinvent myself. And now is a good time to reinvent myself. And so I decided to do that. And it's difficult, and it's, lots of failures along the way, but it is interesting. And this idea of leaving the casino, even at the age of 60, I'm 60 now, I'm going to 60, I'll be 62 this year, but I still haven't left the casino because I'm not dead. Leaving the casino means you die. Death is the only real defeat, the ultimate defeat, the only permanent defeat. That's leaving the casino. Everything else is just the game. It's the ups and downs. It's the tosses you win, the tosses you lose. It's making life interesting. So if God is watching, he'll say, "Oh, well, but watch this guy. I'm going to return to this channel, and after this commercial break, I'm going to return to this channel." So, what I'm saying is, if you're out there, if you're experiencing a defeat, well, let's do this in two ways. First of all, if you're experiencing defeat, if you're experiencing success, if you're on the top, on the good roll, if you're on a winning streak, prepare, my friend. Prepare for the defeat, because it will come. I don't wish it on you. I would wish that it didn't come, and I wish you good behavior when it does come, and that you will succeed. Prepare. And if you are in defeat, make yourself interesting. Go back and reinvent yourself. That's a great opportunity, and God is watching. Wishing you all the love, luck, and happiness in the world. Good night.